The ultimate journey. Episode 38. Welcome to the Ultimate Journey Awakening to Spirit podcast. I'm your host, Frank DeGenova, and we have a juicy topic today, and it is called, What is Tantra? You'll learn what it is and what it isn't. I have a special guest joining me today, and she's an expert on Tantra. To give a brief description of what it is, it's basically a philosophy or a set of spiritual practices that came out of India that refers to the direction or manipulation of the universal life force of prana for liberation. But as I learned, it's way more than that. My early concept was that of just sexuality and sex and promiscuity and all that. But we will learn what it really is from the expert. So without further ado, here we go. Welcome. My next guest is Viktoria Kalenteris. Did I say that right?
Wow, that's really nice. You even put a little Greek flair on it.
Of course. You know, I've man of many tongues. And I'd just like to ask you, what do you do? And then we'll ask you something afterwards.
Okay.
Right on.
So what do? I'm a holistic intimacy coach that specializes in sexual wellness, relationships, and communication. And my very targeted specialty is Tantra. And kink. And kink. We didn't talk about that, but
kink.
Tantra.
Oh, yeah. Is that when you're the PCV and getting tied up and stuff?
Oh, yes.
The dominatrix and all that things?
Well, we're talking about a transcendental session of your whole body, mind, and spirit. Interesting.
Well, that's a whole nother podcast episode. The kink. Get the kink. And I'm going to talk about hair because I do hair. So that's nothing to do with hair. The kink. I love the colors, by the way. I love how you have the natural growing in and then the duality of a yin and yang. The yin and yang.
Pretty cool. When I went to the hairdresser, she's like, it's like we've done like coloring on your hair. And I'm like, excellent. I love the way it's coming out.
So this is growing out naturally from...
Yeah, absolutely. From
I love it.
Pandemic 1, let's let it grow out. So the front has this really interesting flare, almost like Cruella de Vil, like one side black, one side white.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, it's totally the duality for me. The Tao, okay, Tao and Tantra and kink. How do you put the in the Indian inflection on kink? Tantra and kink.
You just did. I didn't have to, guide you on that one.
Right.
You got Tantra and you got kink.
Kink and Tantra. All right. So this is starting off awesomely. So, Viktoria, I'm just going to get into I'm splitting hairs here with your name with a K and stuff. That's great. So I've always been interested in Tantra, but it's always been like from a weird perspective. And so, I mean, yeah, exactly. Put the Google eyes up. For the listener can't see what's going on here. We haven't had a video. We're not going to do a video one yet, but maybe in the future, perhaps. So personally, cool. I thought being in Tantra is to master the Kama Sutra, master all the positions, memorize all the positions. But see, I was conflicted because I was in the spiritual journey and my training, or not my training, but what I was focusing on is renouncing and not being a slave to the pleasures. So I always thought there was like the left-hand path and right-hand path, and that, when you get caught up in the sexual addictions and pleasures of sexuality, I thought, okay, there's always good and bad to everything. So this is probably the decoy in spirituality, but that has changed. And, just totally. But I think the closest I got to experiencing anything that's been in the tantric sense is that I was dating a woman one time, and this was early on in my spiritual kind of learning, and I invited her to kiss me, but holding the kiss, but just having it as in like mindfulness kissing, like you don't take a raisin in, or you mindfully do something and you observe the textures and the sounds and everything. Absolutely. And it was mind blowing. And I'm like, okay, I'll put this in the back shelf. And then what I've been doing lately is learning. I've been fortunate to have learned a tantric massage, a vaginal massage that allows a woman to multi-orgasm and ejaculate. And I mean, it's pretty wild when you can it's almost like on cue, like it's crazy. And then what else I'm doing is contracting my muscles down there so I can experience an orgasm without ejaculating. Is that anything close to Tantra?
Yeah, those are part of the practices.
Cool.
They're very important practices, and they're all about being mindful, as you mentioned, being in a full mastery of your sexual energy, your sensual connection with the mindful kiss, being in connection with life itself. So Tantra is actually a lifestyle, to be honest with you, and it is part of the yoga tree, right? So imagine a tree, and in the center it says yoga, and then there are branches on the tree, and those branches may say, Latha, Hatha, Moksha, Ashtanga, Kundalini, and then Tantra. And then what's the difference between all these and Tantra? Tantra includes sensual and sexual practices because we believe everything is holistic.
All encompassing is one, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, you're not going to go to your regular yoga class and learn how to do any pelvic floor movements necessarily, and how sexual energy can be transmuted, which is what we're looking for. And why are we transmuting this energy? That's the next question.
Right. I mean, exactly. And just before we go on, yoga means union. So it's oneness. It's like connecting to everything. So did you want to say about that? You said something about the transmutation. I want to know how you got into this first before we go into that. What got you into this?
What got me into this was the fact that as we have all had our personal history with different partners in our lives, we came to those points in our lives where I went, is that it? Is that all? Like, I'm not getting anything. I'm like hanging out with you and I'm cuddling and I'm doing the thing and I'm putting slot A into slot B, but I feel empty. I feel like there's nothing connecting me deeply. There's nothing moving me. There's nothing shifting in me. And I'm like, is that it? Like, I don't want to sign up for this anymore.
Sex is overrated, right?
Sex is overrated because it's being taught by a porn model, which does not work for us. It actually separates us.
Absolutely, especially with the whole porn industry, where young men and some young women see this as a model, and like, not even close. There's no connection at all.
Absolutely none. They're actually connecting people to themselves in a negative way. And Tantra is about a healthy balance of moderation, right? A healthy approach and connection to everything in life.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what you said about about self, it's like I see sex, just general sex, as masturbating into somebody else. If there's no connection, you're just using the other person as a masturbation tool.
Right, and at the same time, there's pressure. There's like anxiety for performance, and if I get you off, then you got to get me off, and it's a race, and I have a goal set in my head, and I feel this pressure and intensity, and if it doesn't happen, I feel this like big letdown. And I'm thinking, why are you suffering in this way?
And that could be translated into the physical world with spiritual practice, where you're going to get satiated outside of yourself as well. So, yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to mention that Tantra is global. It's not necessarily directly, marked with the Hindu traditions. Okay, it's also found in the ancient Taoist Chinese traditions. It's also found in the Tibetan traditions.
Absolutely.
It's also found in ancient Egypt, also known as sex magic. It's also found here in North America in the Native Indians, particularly in the United States Native Indians, where a group has come together and it's called Kedoshka.
Kedoshka?
Doshka. So you have to keep in mind, Tantra is not, exclusive to the Hindu tradition. It is
and
not.
I wanted to say Tantra. I loved it.
We can say Tantra.
Tantra.
And we can say Tantra, and we can say Tantra.
Or Tantra. To confirm your point there, the actual saving of my life force, or the prana that I don't expel in ejaculation, I learned from, I don't know if I say this guy's name right, Mantak Chia.
Ooh, Mantak Chia is the godfather of ancient Taoist tradition, Tantra. Okay?
I love what he says, just even with the whole kind of preserving the prana, and then it goes into 5-MeO, and then it goes into the DMT and opening the pineal gland. Like, that's up my alley. And it's interesting because I've more like with you, slot A, slot B, okay, fine, but that's it? And that's why and this is I don't care what people think, if they believe me or not. That's why I was never really in a promiscuous, because I never really got off on that. It's like, there's got to be more to this, but nobody's connected to their bodies. Not nobody. A lot of people are not connected to their bodies. They're not present, and I won't be excited sexually unless there's a connection there. And that's, I don't know if it makes me a weird male, but it's, I'm not going to say I was a priest or anything like that either, but I wanted more, and I'd rather save my time, my prana, my energy, my mind, emotions to someone who's going to be a receiver fully to that. Otherwise, it's like just masturbating.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people say, oh, I need to have a partner to do Tantra. And I'm like, absolutely not. Traditionally speaking, and I'm a traditional teacher of Tantra, you are taught individually first. Why? Because you need to master your own energy and your awareness and mindfulness of your own body,
right,
your own way of visualizing and meditating in conjunction with the energy that you are going to be mastering and moving and navigating and cultivating. So you need to know how to play your own instrument first before you get together with somebody else and jam.
Right, exactly. And I was thinking in the flute, a band camp in an orchestra. So...
Yeah, and everybody's got a different kind of instrument. So then they play a different.
Now right? We're getting into the gender assignment game.
Yeah,
everybody's got a different organ.
Different organs, and at the same time, maybe I like classical and a little bit of heavy metal, and maybe you like jazz and rhythm and blues, and so we got to figure that out.
You can recommend you Metallica and the San Francisco Orchestra, or the what they call those guys, Apocalyptica, good heavy metal classical mix.
Yes,
for you.
Exactly.
That you said that, I want to just share some common myths that people have that may have with Tantra. I've said with mine, I thought it was like this kind of gymnastic mastery of the Kama Sutra, whatever. But I guess I wrote a list down, is that everybody thinks, as you said, they need a partner to practice, which is not true.
Not true.
That they have to learn marathon sex, or like, being like the Energizer bunny. Speaking of bunny, because they like that.
Just past Easter?
Yeah, well, there you go. Happy Easter just passed, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That it promotes promiscuity and, casual sex. That they need to be athletic or muscular, like look like Shiva, or kind of like this, only the hot bodies do that. What else did I write down here? That it's about being spiritual and having to follow any kind of the Vedas, or having to follow any modalities, which is not true apparently. And it's only about sex is another misconception, or that it's too complex and hard to learn, and it's for sex addicts.
Wow.
Do you have any other myths that you have to address?
Will I get blue balls? I get that question a lot. Will I get blue balls?
Now that I have you here, what the hell is blue balls? Because I've been in positions where technically it's blue balls, but it doesn't hurt. It's frustration.
Technically, like you could feel this pressure in your genitals, and you're like, oh my God, I feel I'm going to burst. And I feel this like intensity of pressure just here. And they feel like they're like becoming bigger than they are. Gotcha.
I don't think I felt that. I just felt absolutely frustrated. So I would just take care of business anyway. So it's never really bothered me.
Mm-hmm. Instead of taking that energy in your genital area and moving it.
See, and that's Tantra, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So do you offer courses? Do you offer one-on-ones? What do you do?
So I offer both one-on-one, and I also work with couples, and I also offer programs on a regular basis. So
nice.
You have choice, because some people don't want to air their personal laundry and want to work one-on-one. And while other people are really happy to be in another group setting where they're like, cool, I can do this journey with other people. That's awesome. And we can share our own experiences and observations.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm glad you said that, because when I think of Tantra classes, like, you're sitting there and you have, instead of on your yoga mats, you're just having sex, and it's like an orgy free fall. I think that's kind of the biggest myth that people have that are more unconscious about it, that it's just a sex free for all. Like, forget about the cameras, right? It's like an orgy. But
well, I'd save the orgies for the sex clubs. Tantra is not promiscuously found in a sex club. So if you've ever gone to any of the Toronto sex clubs, like Aqua Oasis Lounge or X Club or whatever.
But I've always been curious to go to Oasis.
Well, I've been there many times, and I knew the owners at the beginning, and I was always about, safety first and make sure that you are enforcing everybody's personal boundaries instead of allowing weirdness to happen. So Tantra is not found in sex clubs at all.
Because it's almost like it's Tantra's inward and that's like outward. It's like being the spiritual path and the materialistic path. Is that kind of, can you relate to it in that sense in a different way?
I can relate to that sense because, I used to run kinky events in Toronto for a while. And I found that when swingers, sex club people, get together with kinky people or Tantra people, it's like oil and water. They do not mix. Absolutely not. They don't even come close.
That makes sense.
A lot of weirdness going on.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, different intents, different agendas, different concepts of what sexuality and what pleasure is, and how you share that energy and how you, because I mean, to me, and I alluded that before, I don't want to just, because I believe that when a male ejaculates, and I don't know for a woman, you want to go to sleep after, you feel tired. I mean, you're expelling a lot of life force unless you bring it back up to your spine and whatever. But I especially I'm getting older now. I don't want to just start losing my prana, my life force, right? And
well, you were only given so much, by the way.
And I believe in that too. Like in the Hindus too, they also believe that the number of breaths and heartbeats is what's going to measure our lifespan.
Mm-hmm. It's finite. It's not infinite, right? So if you know that you have a certain amount of energy that's been granted to you for this lifetime, this lifespan, do you not think you want to be able to conserve it and be able to transmute it? Like that sounds pretty common sense and logical to me, as opposed to the porn model that's been telling you like, all right, let's get that money shot in there.
And now, bang,
Yeah, exactly. And no warm up. We're just getting in there.
Well, they probably warm up before and, the fluffers and all that stuff. But yeah, there's no, and that doesn't teach anybody the whole kind of dance to it, the everything. Like, so let me ask you a question, Viktoria. Kalenteris. Remember that, listener? Go to her website or to whatever her groups. We're going to let you say what they are afterwards. Is that, let's say I have mastered my ejaculatory response and that I just feel the orgasm and I'm making love or however you want to call it with a woman. If I, like, and you could be multiple, that's how the male could be multiple orgasms by having that because they don't unload. Does my life force retained or do I lose some essence as well?
So it's basically depicted that when you spill fluid, that's when you're losing life force energy. When you're basically amplifying and turning up the volume and playing with the frequency of an orgasmic state, then you can actually move that, transmute it, as we said earlier, into a healing force, a frequency adjuster to ground and connect, rebalancing my polarity within me and my partner, right? So we see it from a different perspective.
Yeah. I had a conversation with someone way back a couple of years ago, saying that, men lose their life force, and the person said no. Like it was a female, and she goes no. I was like, yeah, for you, because you get recharged. Mm-hmm. And that's, can there be a sense of vampirism from a female taking energy from a male?
Okay, now we're getting into a different topic. So if you're talking about energy sucking succubus, okay, that happens both on the male side versus the female side, okay?
Yeah.
And it all plays in with your intention, like my intention, and it could be a subconscious intention where I'm like breathing in, sucking in your energy, and you feel depleted even if you're a female.
Right.
That can happen.
Wow. The jar of hearts.
Yeah, and that's right. It's really important for you to understand that when you come together with another human being in an intimate, close physical contact, that you're making a decision as to how you're going to be bound with this person energetically.
Absolutely. And then you get into, DNA transfer and all that stuff. It can go on and on without that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, the sad thing is the first time, a man and a woman come together, and I'm going to be heteronormative right now, when your bacteria comes into contact with my bacteria, Frank, it's not the same bacteria. Okay. So that means I will have some kind of an imbalance happen. You may have an imbalance happen. There may be a crash that happens energetically. There may be an intertwining where it creates some kind of a tether. And I'm thinking about you constantly, and I'm overloaded with chemicals in my body that I've unloaded during our time together. So there's a lot of different things we can look at and say, hey, we need at least 72 hours of separation to see where I'm at with you.
That is amazing. And, because I'm into the whole spiritual stuff too. And I've always thought that, like you said, bacteria, but I think bacteria is, energy precedes, it's thought, emotion, physicality. It's all tied. I always think that there's energetic cords being connected to chakras, to whatever. And
absolutely,
you take an essence of the person. And there was I went to the everything you want to know about sex show many years ago, and there was a porn star there that I just wanted to talk to, because I just find that whole fascinating, how somebody could be in that profession. And I looked at her, and it was like not a corpse, but there was no life force there. It was like dead. It was weird. It was sad. It was actually very sad, and like. But I know women that are promiscuous or have been promiscuous, and this is just because I do hair. I'm a hairstylist, and I've talked to a lot of people, and I have a lot of resource to draw from. That the ones that have said that they were very promiscuous, their mental state is very, very it has fluctuating. A lot of different. They're not settled. They're not grounded. Can that happen from that?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm being facetious here.
No, not at all. If we're coming from the tantric lens, we're talking about energy. We're talking about energy vortexes within your center. If it's being pulled in one direction or the other, it's being influenced. It's being manipulated.
Right.
So we don't talk about these things as a normal conversation because it's not tangible. I can't hold on to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people always think, if I can't see it, I can't touch it, then we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, how about air? You can't see air.
You can't see air, but we need to breathe it.
Right? It's there. Fish don't see the water either.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's there.
So it's absolutely there. So if we have more conversations and normalize the fact that there's an energetic bonding, there's an actual influence on one body versus another body, right? And if I'm in a bad place and I'm having sex with you, you're going to feel that.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm very guarded of who I share my body with. And that's, being an Italian guy, into heavy metal, and like I was in that party scene, I felt like I was an alien feeling like this, because it was an inherent feeling from when I was young, right?
Yeah.
And it's definitely. Like, just go bang her, right? I'm like, no, dude, I don't have a good vibe about her. Like, who cares? She's hot. It's like, yeah, but who cares? I want to take her home with me for, like, as you said, 72 hours plus. Right?
Well, 72 hours separation to identify whether this was a good idea or a bad idea.
Wow. And then are there certain ways, and I'm not, if there's something that it's going to affect your ability to have people learn from you, don't answer this. They have to come see you. Are there ways to discharge those bacterial energies and those cords? I know in a spiritual sense, there's just ways to transmute the denser energies or the kind of non-resonant energies. Is there certain ways that people can do that, like every day, or just is it a long process?
Well, energetically, if you're doing Reiki, to kind of do the white light thing. If you go into a shower and let the water wash you over, that's cleansing of energy. You're aware of that, whether you do it visually or in person under the shower. You can also disconnect yourself from that person for the 72-hour period, so you can actually see how you are being affected.
Interesting.
Like first 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, you're like, oh, I'm jonesing. I can't wait to touch her, feel her,
right,
hang out with her. I want to talk to her. I want to hear her voice, get a text message. And then, past, 24 hours, you're still thinking of her, it's still like gnawing at you. It's like you need a fix. Then 24 hours, then it's kind of dissipating a little bit. I'm not thinking about her as much. Then 48 hours, it's calming down. Then 72 hours, my brain is back into logic, reset.
Right.
Was that a good idea to hang out with this person?
No. It's just like you trying to wean off of sugar. You got to do a hard reset, because it takes 3 days to get your receptors back online. Otherwise, you're just craving more,
See, you just confirmed. Now we're talking about sugar cravings and how to wean yourself off. I'm talking about energetically. We do the same thing. We always say that we need to energetically unhook so we can reset, so we can let our logic brain come back into place to find out, was this a good idea? Do I want to get to know this person? Do I want this person in my life, or was that there's a booty call? What was that?
Right. And, especially now this time and age, we need, where our bodies are dying for touch, for interaction, that, you get that hit of, it's more than dopamine that you get when you have sex, but, you become easily addicted to it, and you don't see exactly, let the tide recede back. And then you can see if there's, shells and kind of sea urchins that are there that you don't want to be on. Right.
Absolutely. You need to know how to navigate yourself. So we were never taught this in school, right? We were only taught, let's put the condom on the banana, right?
Yeah.
Or we
Sex with Sue.
abstain. Sex with Sue. And nobody ever talked about respect, energy exchange, how to approach with a healthy intention, how to, like if you want to experience what it's like to have sex with somebody, then say so. Say it. I am navigating sex. I want to learn what it's like. Are you also open to experimenting? And that's all this is? Because that's what we were doing in the dark when we were teenagers and in our early 20s, right? Like, okay, let me see what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm going to think that telepathically my partner will know what I want. No.
Right. Exactly. Well, that happens in communication and in relationships as well, which you also do, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. We scratch the surface on that one because, nobody's telepathic, because if we all were, I will not be in business. Okay?
Right. Exactly. The thing is, though, when you do get connected with a person and you do stand in your power, I believe that you can almost anticipate, not in the beginning, but afterwards, you can anticipate the needs of the other person, and not mind read, but you're there, you're present. But in the beginning, it absolutely is just like, and then you have these advice from, I don't know, relationship coaches or whatever, saying, just worry about yourself, get yourself off. And if you do that, then if they do that too, then you're fine. It's like, no, I think it's a combination of both. Personally, it's like a dance, right?
Yeah, we can go back to polarity play, right? So in Tantra, we always tell you to be an unconditional giver versus an unconditional receiver. So let's say for this evening, Frank, I'm going to be unconditionally giving to you while you unconditionally receive. So you can fully embody what that is. So you understand what you like, what you don't like, and how you can navigate it and still stay in the feel-good chemicals of receiving, okay? So then another night, we'll switch. Because I need to have that tangible, beautiful, erotic tension between the two of us. I need to have that. So I need to, bounce it back and forth. And there'll be nights where we're both working at it together, right? So, and also to take into account, very important, when you're with a female body form, that we go through a menstrual cycle during the month, which means that my sensitivity and my ability to, and my capacity to be in intimate relations with you will be different at different times. I'm not a porn video where you press play and I do the same thing each time, okay?
Right. Some people think that,
Yeah.
But you are when it's ovulation time more so. The play button's basically, the tape is down on that one.
Ovulation means that I'm going to be the aggressor. I'm going to be the initiator because my biology is telling me I need to mate.
That's right. It's like, Marissa Tomei. It's like, my biological clock is ticking. Jesus.
That's right. That's what we're talking about. We need to basically, reproduce. So what happens to the female psyche and body in that time frame of ovulation is I am going to be more inclined to seek you out.
Yeah. You'll glow more, your pheromones, everything will just be like, you'll be lit up. And
exactly.
Yeah. I'm still, some of my mind is still lingering on the receiving and the giving unconditionally. What I have to learn is to receive, because I'm just give. And I'm one of the type of guys is I won't enter you unless you've come, not you in general, but I have to make sure that a woman is satisfied before I even go. And I'd be more of a giver. If I know that I've made my partner feel good, then I'm good. It's weird. But when you said for me to receive unconditionally, I got kind of weirded out about that, to be honest.
So you don't want to be worshipped like a sex god. Is that what you're telling me? You don't want to be worshipped like a sex god?
Didn't say that. I'm saying I rather give a woman's pleasure, and obviously I want my pleasure too. But it's like, have her done first, and then not the pressure's off, but then I could kind of say, okay, well, I got my fill. But that's self-worth and love too, because, even in the real world where you just give, and you never receive, you don't know how to receive. That's a whole nother psychological kind of personality, self-worth issue thing, that when you said that, I'm like, oh, am I comfortable enough in my own body to fully receive unconditionally without trying to say, okay, that's enough. Let me turn you over now. I'll go at you now. So that was, I think you just kind of unearthed something. I mean, I can receive and I have received, but unconditionally fully only one night or one time. That was like, whoa, that's maybe you've opened up some work that I need to do.
Something to think about.
And I'm being vulnerable, guys. I'm here. Hear me. So yeah, and that's part of it too, is being able to see what you may need and the whole shadows that you don't want to face. But yeah.
Absolutely. And to know, how to give feedback, to know how to do it in such a way I don't feel rejection or abandonment, or I feel weirded out, or I'll contract and go, oh, I'm doing everything wrong. I'm going to stop now because I don't know what to do anymore because I'm going to go into freeze. So there's a way of doing that, right? There's a way of communicating with each other during our physical intimacy, and to be able to do it in such a way that we're working as a team,
Absolutely. And what you remind me of too is when people go into therapy, they take one person at a time, they talk to them, and then they take the other person, and then they talk to them, and then so it's the same thing, right? You focus on one, focus on the other, and then you can integrate them afterwards.
Yeah, that's exactly how I work with couples. So I'll see each one separately, and then I'll bring the two together, and then I may separate them again and bring them together again. So it's a dance until we figure out where that beautiful medium space is where you can work it together.
That's wild. Yeah. Can you meditate and have your senses inward, like the whole kind of the yogic path where you want to reach self-awareness, where you don't stimulate the sensory organs. We're talking about the five senses, and indulge in the tantra. Like, I mean, it's part of the tree, yes, but then you have the fruit, and then you have the roots. Like, they all do different things, right? So, I mean, you look at renunciants. You have monks. You have yogis. You have all the deities that were apparently leading us out of the darkness. They're depicted as not having sex, not having any pleasure seeking, that they're disciplined.
That's not true.
It isn't true. Okay.
No, that's a myth.
Really? So.
Yeah.
But the extreme of that is that they're heads of cult leaders on the opposite side.
Okay, now we're going into a different direction of a conversation, right? Because that's been documented, and there are actually groups for people who have experienced those not so nice places with gurus of that nature.
Yeah. There's one cult thing that just got busted now. They killed their leader. Did you hear about this?
No, this is new.
This is new. I think it's new. It's Love One or something. Love Wins or Love One. The group is a woman. She was. It was weird. I just read it today. Actually, it was weird.
Yeah, I haven't heard of this one.
Yeah. So, no.
Sad.
Thank you for showing me different parts, because I mean, that whole 72-hour thing it blew my mind as well.
Yeah, it's important for you to reset your system so you know what is real, as opposed to being influenced by your hormonal feel-good chemicals running through your system, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. You need to reset. Definitely.
And I find that that when I do have an orgasm, and me being into connecting with divine source or whatever you want to call it, that when you're in the climax of the climax, you're close to the divine. Like, that's a creative force. So sometimes I will use that and just visualize the energy going up and directing it to what I want to, focusing it. Is that, do people do that? Like, using as a creative force?
Yeah, that's part of the transmutation that we talked about, right? So you can actually...
Can you heal your body for that too? Can heal it, send it to organs?
I teach from that place that it's all about healing for me. Why are you having sex? That's the question I ask all my students. Why are you having sex?
It feels good.
It feels good. Okay, and then?
Exactly. And then what do you want? What kind of sandwich do you want?
and then I get dropped like a hot potato. What happens? Then I got to get my fix. What you're in an addiction loop now? What's going on? I'm having sex because I want to either ground, I want to nurture my soul, I want to heal, I want to tap into my creative life force, or I want to create life. Those are the really big main 5 reasons why you decide to have sex from the tantric lens perspective.
Amazing. And it just dispels all the promiscuity, the sex addiction. I mean, it just dissolves all that. It's not what people think it is.
No, not at all. And if you have some kind of, baggage, like we all have baggage at certain points in our lives, right? And you decide to take the tantric path, you're looking to unload the luggage, to check it in somewhere else.
Literally,
and bust open the blocks in your system so you can live a life that's much more fulfilling and more connected and present and fully aware and mindful and with a clear truth within yourself. Like, hey, what if I said to you, Frank, this weekend, I'm looking forward to spending time with you, and I'm looking forward to doing some nurturing sensual massage. Is that comfortable for you?
Yeah. But I want to massage you, though.
If we talked like that, it would be so much easier for all of us.
Like, that's just mind-blowing. It's just like, but we have these, assuming, mind reading, a fear of being vulnerable and not communicating that. I mean, that's a level of maturity that a lot of people haven't fully realized yet or integrated in,
Yeah, well, in the tantric path that I'm teaching, I'm talking about falling in love with yourself in a healthy way and to be able to choose when you spend physical, intimate, emotional connections with people, intellectual talks with people, and be clear about your intention. Because when you're clear, then you don't get cobwebbed. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get bogged down. You don't feel guilty. You don't feel weirded out. You're like clear, like, hey, this weekend, Frank, I'm really looking forward to spending time with you. And let's work on you receiving, and let's figure out what kind of activity works best for you. Do you want to receive a sensual massage, or do you want to have a lingam worshiping? What do you want to have?
I'll take the lingam one and the yoni and the lingam. No, I'm just being funny here, but yeah, I mean, what a concept. I mean, I've never had anybody talk like that to me.
Well, if I gave you this offer on the table, you think about it. You'd be like, wait a minute, she's actually like really concerned about my well-being in the sexual department, which is like super cool. And
then that just not forces, but that kind of inspires the other person to say, hey, I want to, not out of obligation, but I want to reciprocate this because you were present for me. You honored me. Now I want to do that to you because you did that for me and you cared. And like, this is a mutual thing. It's like, wow.
Well, what are you doing now? You're stepping up, right? As a human being who's mature enough to understand what it means to reciprocally care and give healing sexual energy.
That's wild, Victoria. That's just like, and even your voice too, you've got this calming, it's wild. Thank you. This is, yeah. Didn't know what else.
Little mind-blowing. Poof.
Yeah, we haven't spoken. We've texted back and forth. We haven't spoken until we put on the Zoom call.
Now we're in it, Frank.
Now we're in the, I was going to say something Greek, but I was going to say goulash, but that's not Greek at all. It's in
that's not.
It's in the tzatziki sauce, right?
Yeah, you're swimming in the tzatziki sauce.
That's wild. Now, as a man,
cool. Mm-hmm. You are a man, right?
Yeah, as a man, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm just speaking for myself.
Okay, cool.
When I think I'm a man, I think I look like a man.
Just check.
Yeah.
Check.
Well, I saw a meme somewhere where it was a transgender person saying, you don't need a penis to be a man. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's a whole different mindset.
That's a whole different topic.
Totally different topic.
Yeah, we can talk about energy. We can talk about masculine energy.
Right.
We can talk about the physical form of masculinity. We can talk about the different layers of that.
Right, and that's what I'm kind of leading to. So as a masculine, as a male body with a masculine essence to me, talking like this, I mean, men, we've been brought up to be macho. I mean, Greeks and Italians and Europeans and even just the macho man, you don't, this type of talk is not encouraged. It's not, is it demasculating for a man to kind of entertain these feelings like this? And like, it's, you know what I mean?
Which feelings are we referring to?
Just the whole thing about so to give you a quick recap, I did a podcast with a polarity expert or relationship expert, so-called, whatever. I don't know. I think he calls himself a relationship expert. We talked about polarity and how I shared in my life that I had a very domineering mother. So I kind of went into the feminine type of masculinity for approval, and I did things to be not criticized, like whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And I went to the spiritual path, and I went, this whole feminine side, and I felt like I wasn't honoring who I was, and I wasn't having success in my relationships. And I found that walking into my masculinity it feels better in my body. And so getting back to this whole emotional stuff, like I've embraced the emotions. I've been there. Now I feel better being more into the kind of sense of leading, or kind of having taken the bull by the horns now, in the sense of not getting sappy in that sense. I mean, I'm empathic and I have emotional intelligence, but I'm not going to be emotional or delve into that too much, because that's not really, I've integrated that already.
Okay, cool. Now, I want you to take on the masculine essence of your polarity as your primary force, and that your feminine polarity will be a complement in the background. So I want you to think of it that way. So I'm feminine form. I take on a feminine form and make that my primary, and then, put the complementary background masculine. Even though over my personal years, I've actually cultivated the masculine, gave that front stage for various reasons. We can go into that in another time. But when I want to be in my feminine energy, then the people who I'm interacting with are completely different.
Viktoria, it's mind-blowing, because I've been manifesting, I'm integrating more the masculine and having the complement, as you said. Mm-hmm. Wow. Things get easier. Things get less stressful, because it's mind-blowing. And so having the feminine in the background is me understanding her, is finding solutions for her, because I feel, but I'm not going to be overrun by that, because speaking of the Indian, there was a Swami Guru Paramahansa Yogananda. I read, it was autobiography of Yogi. I was a teenager. So I was into this stuff. I didn't even know what was going on, but he was saying that women coax out the hidden emotion in men, and men coax out the hidden reasoning in women. And I found that pretty wild. But after you kind of union, because I believe our soul is both. We're not split. I mean, there's no duality with our absolute oneness.
Yes.
And ourselves. And I think when you get to that, when you ascend to that, or self-realize and beyond the sex, you don't need that, because all those things underneath that are trying to get you to realize and to embody your fullness, your masculine and feminine integrated.
But understanding that there is a percentage difference, right? Like you're like 70% masculine and 30% feminine.
In the physical body, yes. But I think when I drop this body, I think, I don't know what happens exactly, but I think ultimately we are both and none.
You are absolutely, by keeping in mind that you're in this reality physically. And that percentage that I gave you as an example, you could be 60-40.
Right.
It could be, you know what I mean? 65-30, like whatever. So you just need to understand that when you want to interact with a female of your choosing, because that's your preference, you're going to embody the masculine energy for me to be able to play off your masculine. So I can drop into my softness, into my feminine radiance, which is a phrase that we use a lot now.
Yeah.
Allowing me to just, say to you, hey, I see the softness in your eyes and I can sense into your heart. It just brings warmth to me. And what are you going to say when you hear that?
That's what gets me. Like, it's true. It's like when a woman goes in her masculine, it doesn't feel good.
No. If I look at you and go, so what's going on with the headphones, dude? Like, what are you doing with the microphone? Like, does that work for you? Like, that's very masculine.
Very, very masculine. And I thought that I needed that, because I didn't have that that was trying to reflect back to me, say, hey, buddy, grow some balls here. Right. Mm-hmm. But when a woman, like I always see a bee and a flower. I'm going to say the bee is the male and the flower is the female. Mm-hmm. When the flower is colorful and radiating, the pollen, there's all this beautiful fragrance, that's your radiance. That's going to want the bee or the pollinator to just devote to that flower and just kind of guys, I mean, yeah, if you act in your feminine, I'm going to man up and I'm going to come to bat and say, hey, how can I serve you? How can I be devoted to you fully? How can I open my heart for you? Because if you're going to try to lead me like a man, I'm not going to open up to you.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work at
No.
all. In today's society, a lot of women have to take on that masculine role. Like if you say to me, hey, I want to help you out with, picking up the groceries, and I'll turn around and look at you and go, it's okay. I do the groceries every week. I can pick them up in my own car. Thanks very much. And you'll be like, well, what's the purpose of me hanging out with you then?
Exactly.
How can I serve you if you don't allow me to be in my masculine assistance and to take care of business for you, How does that work? And more so in the bedroom, right? One of us must take on the polarity.
So having said that, we're going back to the Tantra. How does the polarity work in the Tantra in that sense? Does the man initiate the sexual moves and the kind of like the intuition, and the woman receive? Or is there a play with that? Because I think that translates in the bedroom as well.
Sure. It also translates in the intention, right? So if I'm the initiator and it's my ovulation time, I'm going to activate things, and then you're going to step up as the masculine, right?
Right. But you don't do it in a controlling or leading way.
Absolutely not. I will
You just
do it
vibrate even more.
I vibrate and I be playful and much more. My heart opens even further to allow that space to happen.
Right.
Right. So there's a palpable energy between the two of us, especially if we're looking into each other's eyes.
Oh God, yeah, that's a big one.
That's the magic, right? So when I look into your eyes and I feel a sparkle inside of me, and you sense into that, and you like stand up even further and you peacock a little bit
peacock.
more.
I was just gonna do that, right?
you just feel into that. You want to do that, right? You're like, whoa, she's looking at me and she's got that special sparkle. I gotta like let her know that I can handle that.
And that's where I see the peacock or this bird's going, caca, like, doing the dance. It's like, hey, I'm here, man. I'm going to puff my chest out.
Absolutely.
And
so,
you're going to coax me there.
Yes. I'm going to move towards you, or you're going to come to me. Whichever it is, there's that palpable erotic tension between the two of us, that energy that you can feel like you can cut through with a knife, right? Like it feels like, wow, I can like move that density just by walking through it. You know what I mean? And reaching out to her. Bring her close to me, like
100%. And that's, I was, saying to people in the past, I don't feel that vibe anymore. I don't feel that getting baked anymore, like just deer in headlights, which is probably not healthy in one way, because I was not integrated fully in my masculine. I wasn't creating that tension. I wasn't creating that polarity. That's why I didn't feel it in a woman.
You felt like we were like chums in high school.
Yeah, it's like punch my arm.
Yeah, I want to do something. Yeah, you want to get baked? Yeah, I want to get baked. Like, I'm like, what kind of talk is that? What are we, like 14? Like, grow up.
Absolutely. I don't know why this came in my head, but if a woman always wants to be on top, is that a masculine behavior? Is that a masculine energy?
It depends on how she's moving and grooving.
If she always wants to be on top.
If she wants to be on top because she has more sensation in her body, particularly because of the angling of the vagina versus the penis, aka the lingam versus the yoni in Tantra language, then she may need that for herself. But if she allows herself to go into that like feminine radiance and that movement and that connection to her body, she's totally feminine. It doesn't matter if she's on top.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I was talking with somebody about that. I'm like, if someone's always wanted to be on top, it's more of a masculine thing. But I guess that you describe that. Yeah.
Yeah, she can be. She'd be like, I'm in charge, and she can have masculine energy, or she could be like, I'm just loving this. It feels so great, and I'm grooving to the motion and the feeling of your lingam inside my vagina, aka my yoni, and I'm really loving it, and it feels great.
That's wild.
It's magical.
It's magical. Yeah, no, this is great. I mean, I think we need that vocabulary and that language for people to understand and to use more and more, because we don't have that. I mean, we have Hollywood, we've got porn, and just not giving any weight to the whole, subtleties of all that. And it's, I think we're in trouble. And men, I think, as men drop the ball and become effeminate, women have to step into their masculine, because men drop the ball. They have to take care of everything. They have to be man and woman.
And I can call it. I can say to you, listen, I'm too much in my masculine and it's draining me. Right. I can call it.
So men are, but you should, because but men, then there's men bashing. Men don't know their roles anymore because it seems like society, even media, is demasculating the men. Even in commercials, I see it. It's like, why is a man the pussyfooting around and the woman's always commanding? I'm like, what's this inversion? So, and then this whole Me Too movement. I'm not saying it wasn't real. I'm just saying, like, men have been the masculine has been attacked. The divine masculine has been attacked, and I don't know for what agendas or whatever.
It's time. That's all I got to tell you. It's time for it's the time, right? The Me Too movement came on because it's time. It's time for everybody to know what's been going on in the darkness of closets, in homes, in the background. You need to understand that there's a spotlight that needed to be placed there, and to normalize all of the tragedy and trauma that's been going on.
It's like the pendulum, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're at the pendulum. Right now, since you and I are talking about this, we're in the transition stage of healing both sides.
Right.
By just having the conversation.
Thank you for saying that, because it's like, oh, only the patriarchy is toxic. No, there's the feminine is toxic as well.
We both had to sharpen our knives to make them weapons over the decades and thousands of years, okay? It's time for us to step into our own being, right? And being meaning, who am I? How do I function? How do I relate to the world around me? How do I relate to sex? How do I relate to sensuality? How do I relate to sacred sexuality? How do I see the world? Am I connected to porn? Am I addicted to it? Am I, looking at people like they're a piece of meat, or actually looking at them as a piece of art? Like, what is going on? What makes me who I am?
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So if people want to get hold of you and your services, where do they go, and where do they email you, or go to your site or Facebook?
Sure. So to learn more about my offerings and to find me and learn about programs and masterclasses that are on the agenda on a monthly basis, please head over to playfulloving.com and you'll find me there.
Awesome. Victoria, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to share with you, and just you've given me some things to ponder, and you've confirmed a lot of things too. And yeah, that's great.
Great. I'm happy to, be a catalyst. I love being a catalyst.
Catalyst.
Provocateur, as I say.
Now you can say that in French, right? We've covered we've covered the Taoism, we covered the Hindu, we covered, I can do accents, but I don't want to, because it's, someone's going to be knocking on my door saying, hey, you can't do that anymore. So.
Yes, mon cœur.
Victoria, thank you very much. And thank you for being on the Ultimate Journey Awakening to Spirit podcast. We will see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Journey Awakening to Spirit podcast. Join me again next time for more spiritual talk. You can reach me at info@theultimatejourneyawakeningtospirit.com. And you can also visit my website, theultimatejourneyawakeningtospirit.com. Until next time, walk in love and in gratitude.